Welcome to the My Journey podcast, the place where I document my freelance journey, and with the help of my good friend Tom Scott, we discuss a whole range of different business-related topics. We do this by randomizing subjects, interviewing incredible guests, and answering your questions. But as ever, we're going to start this episode by catching up on what we've been up to over the last couple of weeks since we were last around the mic. So over to you, Tom. What have you been doing since we last caught up on the podcast?
The biggest thing I've probably been doing is I had my exam. I've been talking about it for God knows how long now on the pod. Yes, had my second to last AAT exam. My worst result so far, got 83%.
Still
But
good.
it does mean, yeah, I've been kind of coming to terms with that. But yeah, overall, it does mean that I only need 86% in my final exam to get a distinction overall, and I need the pass mark of 70% just to ensure that I at least pass overall. I think I could get a merit if I did that, but that's kind of where that's been. So I was kicking myself a bit when I walked out, especially because you get like the little statement of results that you get. It kind of goes through each task.
Yeah.
And when the first one's like exceed, 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 and then it just hit me with a significantly below. I was like, because you get that just before it releases your actual percentage.
Ah, right.
So
Okay.
so you kind of gauge it a bit from that, and then yeah, it goes into actually giving you, yeah, this is what you did.
And obviously, you've been back in the office another couple of weeks now. The new
Yeah.
job role and the obviously doing your exams, like you just mentioned stuff. How is things progressing with the new role? How are you finding that?
The new role's kind of been at a standstill as of yet, purely because a lot of the stuff I'm moving into has been a lot of stuff my manager's dealt with previously, and she was actually away for 2 weeks on
Ah,
annual
right.
leave.
Okay.
So it was more kind of staying on top of the department itself, just keeping everything running, getting back into the flow of being back to work, picking up a few little new things, but a lot of it is stuff that she just, it's not that I need to learn how to do, it's just them specifically had to do them bits because it's so unique per each one. Like
Yeah.
the overall concept is there, it's just specifically for each different accounts or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, fingers crossed it starts to move forward soon for you. But in terms of general office life, how's that? Is that feeling back to normal yet? Or
It does, and it's kind of weird.
yeah.
I'm not I'm not a big fan of it. I would much rather be working from home still. It is nice being in the office sort of thing, but I do feel like you get so much more done being at home.
Yeah.
Just just because you don't have that little interaction where you can't just email someone and go, "Oh, can you send me this?" You kind of go over and it's like, "Oh, how was your weekend?" All this sort of stuff, which is nice. It is. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all, but especially when you've got a few things to be doing, you're like, I kind of just need this so I can crack on.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Definitely.
no, it's been all right. How have you been anyway since we was last year?
Just like crazy, crazy busy.
Yeah,
It was quite interesting the other day. I have a notebook and I write all my to-do lists down for the week on a new
yeah,
page each week. And like back in like April, May, it was like half a page. And like if you flick through from there, it's just been getting gradually longer and longer and longer. And like this
yeah,
week, I was having to not write things down because it was going to go on to another page. I was like, I can't. It's not worth just for one point going on to another page. I was like making little boxes at the side and stuff.
yeah,
It has been pretty hectic. And like obviously, been saying about getting the new clients and stuff like that. Still kind of going through some of the onboarding with some of them, which is a little bit slower than I would have liked, but the reasons that is happening is totally understandable. Like as I've
yeah.
said before, like they've got their own business to run, and like the problems relating directly to their business come before setting up the social media a lot of the time. So that's fair enough, and still really positive conversations, and potentially doing even more work from when I do start. But also, other clients have kind of come back out, like people I've worked with in the past doing adverts for and stuff like that. They've started to come back, so it's just
Yeah.
just look, small little things, but when you get like four or five of them at the same time, it suddenly becomes a
It builds up. Yeah,
yeah. And the just for you, Tom, just an update on the big brand, the one I had the big pitch for.
yes,
Um, caught up with them, they're still deliberating and talking about it. So
Okay.
nothing to say yet, but I have had a phone call with them
Yeah.
this week, which was really good. So
That's all right then. Yeah,
yeah,
because that's definitely good to hear. I've seen as well, I think you touched on it last episode, that you're going to be starting a little bit of new content really that you're going to be putting out.
yeah.
Seen a few of them. Is it 3 that you've done now?
I think it
Three,
might.
4 posts?
Yeah, I think it's 3 of them now. So basically, my 3-tiered structure, which I've spoken about bringing in before, is coaching, strategy, and management. Management is basically I take over the account. Apart from the customer service side, I take over the account and do all the posting, all the content ideas, everything. Strategy is I come up with the ideas, but essentially the customer implements them. They keep control of their accounts, but we work together and come up with ideas. And coaching is they come up with the ideas and they manage the account, but I almost become like a sounding board and work with them on the ideas. So they come and say, I've got this idea, and then I look at how that idea could possibly work best.
Yeah.
Now, I launched them 3, and the idea behind a 3-tiered thing, I've been told before, is to do a basic, better, best. So you've got an offering that's at the bottom, which is good. The one in the middle, which tends to be your star offering, and then the one at the top, which is, wow, if I can sell this, this is amazing. Everyone I've spoken to has come in for the top one, which takes up the most amount of time as well. So I'm now trying to, as great as that is, I want to try and get a couple of other people on the coaching and the strategy side of things. So a lot more of the content I'm putting out now is less about, before it used to be more about like the time it took and trying to show the skill in what I do and things like that. Whereas now it's more about, do you need someone to help you with creatively? And
Yes.
trying to promote that, which the posts you've seen are called What Would I Do If? And I basically put myself in the shoes of a brand and say, what would I do if I was this brand from a social media marketing point of view, and give a couple of ideas. So we've done Nike was one, and a generic football club. I was targeting at Hull City, but a generic football club was another I've got on my list to do. The RSPCA, I've got an idea for them, and a cleaning product brand, a general cleaning product brand, if there's any big cleaning products there. Yeah, I really enjoy doing them because it is like coming up with an idea for them, like actually doing the campaign. So, but yeah.
Yeah. No, they've been a good read.
Well, thank you, because they're a bit longer than my normal purse, and I have been
Yeah.
thinking about potentially making them into a bit of a, like, I've been stepping up my YouTube game, which I've mentioned. I have been thinking about bringing them into the YouTube side of things, like as additional videos, because they could sit quite nicely on there as well. But yeah, it's just almost like lots of different fingers in lots of different pies. So like, just hold off on more YouTube content at the moment and just get the actual purse out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the only other thing that's been happening, which has literally happened in the last couple of days, is something crazy has happened with the podcast, but we're going to talk about that at the end of this podcast. So this week we're doing something a little bit different. I know everybody tunes in for the random generated topic from Google and our long list, but we've been planning for a while to do an episode like this, and what we're going to do is review the trading challenge that we took part in. We will be revealing the results at the end of this little segment. So if you do want to go back and watch it all, then just make sure that we'll forewarn you about telling you the results, but just so you're aware, we will be revealing that. But yeah, we're just going to kind of talk through our experience of how we found it, and not from a £300 or the £200 challenge point of view, just like what we kind of learn and what advice we give to other people looking to get into trading, because it is something I think a lot of business people talk about, and we definitely learn a lot. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we started it as the Idiot Trading Challenge, and we are nowhere near experts on this. So everything we are saying is just from our side of it. Yes, if anyone has been watching along, we definitely did. If you haven't and you want to see some form of idiots do a little bit of trading, then yeah, you'll have to go find us on that. But I'm sure we'll talk about where you can get to us at the end of this.
So yeah, we will obviously share how to find us. Just the basic premise of the Idiot Trading Challenge for anyone who is new to the podcast, which since we might have a couple of new people, like I say, we'll come on to that at the end.
Yep.
The idea behind it was basically we wanted to do a business challenge of some form, something new that we hadn't really done before, and something that we could learn and we're both interested in. And we've both kind of looked at the stock market before, dabbled in it in different ways, but not really committed to learning anything about it. So we set up a challenge where we put £200 each into our own accounts on Trading 212, which I think has been a great platform, and
Yep.
just set ourselves the target of making as much money as we could over a 4 or 5 week period. And it was just a bit of fun. We put a few forfeits in there each week for the loser and little bits like that, just to keep it interesting and competitive. Nothing that would cost each other money, but maybe would stop us getting as bigger profits as we could have. Or we didn't really talk about what we were up to, so we're trying to give each other insights and gain knowledge from one another. And yeah, so basically we're going to answer 3 questions today. Each of us will give you an answer. So one thing we learned by doing the challenge, one thing we loved about doing the challenge, and one tip we would have for anyone else who's looking to not necessarily do a £200 challenge, but get into trading stocks and shares in the future. We didn't do anything like crypto or currencies, anything like that. So it was just company stocks that we could invest in. So
yeah.
if you've got any questions about our experiences, if you think about doing it yourself, then do feel free to reach out to us. What we do have to say, which if you have seen any of the videos, you'll see, is that we are not financial advisors. This is not financial advice. You need to, if you are thinking about investing your money, you need to do your own research, speak to accredited people. We're not going to be giving any tips on which stocks to invest in this episode. It is just our review of what happened. So I've been chatting for a while now, so I'll throw over to you for the first one, Tom, here. So one thing you learn from doing the Idiot Trading Challenge?
A lot. No, the one big thing I learned, which I kind of had a slight idea about before, I think, anyway. But when you're looking at your individual stocks, looking at what's going up, what's going down, the market on a whole changes drastically. Like when you're seeing, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, if one stock's going down, majority of others in that same market are also going down. Especially because in the challenge I dealt a lot with the FTSE 100 companies. You'd see if they were going up, all of them were having a good day. If it was bad, all of them were having a bad day. There was only the very few rare occasions where they would differ slightly, and that was quite a big shock on it, because it almost felt that even if something drastic is kind of happening with a company, it was more what was going on across the entire country or world almost for what was affecting it. Obviously, that could be like changed a bit slightly due to going through the pandemic and everything like that, and that might just be how it was. But with that, like with my experience, I'm pretty sure Matt had the same. But with the experience of doing the challenge at the time that we did it, that was pretty much what I was finding.
When I saw stocks booking the trend, it was for a specific reason to that stock. So, for example, they've reported some figures and they weren't as good or were better than, and that would mean that they probably book the trend of the market. But your general day-to-day stock movements were in line with the stock market, and it was about picking the best one within that market.
Yeah.
To just try and clinch that edge over each other. And it is like we got given a free share because of the way we signed up, and I reckon if you track the value of that share over the course of the challenge, it mapped the FTSE or that the main markets.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely it's a great thing to kick us off with. About one thing we learned was that it's not down to a stock, it's down to the market as a whole.
Down to the market, yeah, 100%.
So the thing I said about was key pinch points, and you actually did a video about this during the challenge.
Yeah.
You picked a particular stock, which people can see over on our YouTube channel, and bought it when the market was closed and saw what happened when the market reopened. So throughout the day, you'll see some steady changes in stock prices. You'll see them again, like we say, if there's a particular bit of news that affects them, they will shoot up or shoot down. But the biggest times where you see the biggest changes is on Monday morning when the market's been closed all weekend. And as soon as it opens, you could see stocks rocket or crash massively in like the first half an hour of the market being opened, and then they'll just level out and stay at that level. So if you're trying to make the biggest high risk returns, that's the time when the biggest movements happen. But it's a very risky strategy, and something we showed in Tom's video what can happen in them periods.
Yeah, it was weird to see that. That was because this in the video based on Tesla stocks, and I kind of saw it happening once or twice while I was looking at Tesla. So I thought I'd just use some money and just try it basically. And yeah, it worked once, so I tried it again and it worked again. It was bizarre. I don't think I can't remember if we mentioned this in one of the videos or not, but I can't remember if I looked again the following week from doing that to see if it happened again. But yeah, it was a bizarre scenario to see.
Yeah, it was like it's not like the biggest movements, like not some of them aren't even huge, but if you just compare them to their general graph, that's when you see the biggest changes. And there's probably people listening to this who do trade and maybe do work in finance or whatever, and they're probably going, yeah, you idiots, of course that was going to happen. But for people who aren't into it, you don't realize that happens. And you can get, I know when we started, we got quite caught out, I think, like when we started with the practice account, like because we started on a Monday and it was like, oh, we've missed all the changes, and actually we hadn't. That happens every week. That wasn't,
Yes,
we thought that was a one-off and we'd missed like these incredible returns, but actually it happens every week, up and down. So yeah, I think as well, like going on to the next point, which is one thing that we loved about doing it, mine ties in quite nicely, is that learning through doing. And yes, we had money that we were able to put in and we were willing to risk, but you can get the free trading account on there, the demo account, which we use for the practice week, which is, I think it's like you don't actually get any of this money, but it's like the equivalent of having £50,000 in your account of dollars, and you can trade that on stocks and see how the market reacts. And like the amount I learned in that first week using that test account, demo account, was just unreal.
Yeah, it was fun. I was even flicking back and forth between it while doing the challenge. It was fun to do, and it was nice going from the amount we was like able to invest ourselves to using such a big chunk of money, because when we were dealing with things like we would have some great investments sometimes, like we'd have like 10-15% increases, but when you were dealing with the amount of money it didn't look that much. When you start using that 50,000 and you're getting that sort of increase, you can really see how people can and do make money very quickly in it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing, is like as well, the way we invested, I think, was very different when using the practice account compared to your own money. You're a lot more risk averse when you're using your own money, so you're not going to take the same kind of level of risk as you would with the practice account, and actually you learn less by throwing yourself in at the deep end, I think. But we've said it across other things. It's not just trading. We've said it about video, speaking, all these different things. The only way to learn properly is to actually do the thing that it is that you want to learn. And that's one thing I loved about doing this, was I learned so much about the stock market because we were in it, and I wouldn't have learned that had we not have done the challenge. What about yourself? What did you love about the idiot trading challenge?
I loved the kind of research side of it all. I spent a lot of time at the start of it actually researching this. As I say, I dealt a lot with the like FTSE 100 companies. I spent a lot of time researching into them. Then each day, pretty much, I was straight on the stocks app in the morning, and through Apple they kind of give you 5 or 6 headlines that are happening overall. But then if you also have stock on your watch list, it gives you specific ones relating to them if there is any. So just reading through them and the amount of bits that you pick up that you don't realise. So then you could be just looking through like Trading 212, or you just see something out of nowhere and you're like, oh, I actually read an article about them last week and they're coming out with, like, they're getting a new CEO or they've got a new product that's launching. And it's just stuff that you wouldn't see in your day-to-day basis of watching the news unless you were specifically looking for that. Which you could kind of say about lots, but it was very interesting to see that there's that capability right there, and there always has been, really. I've just never really utilised it.
And like I
Um,
started watching loads of YouTube channels that I wouldn't have otherwise watched. When we get
yeah,
the paper, I was flicking to the finance section of the paper and having a quick read of that. Like, yeah, just always wanting to consume more, because like the thing as well, like you're saying about the research, was that it was ever changing. It's not like you learn it and that's it. There's
yeah,
stuff to learn about each individual stock every week. So much
yeah.
to learn.
Oh yeah, too right. Which from that point, I kind of made then kind of falls into our next and final question that we was kind of going with was, what is it? The
One
tip, or
tip,
what would we recommend?
one tip for
Yeah.
others. Yeah.
For me, it was trust your gut. Like, just from reading all that sort of just all that research, all that news, all kind of, because we was religiously every day going on Trading 212. It was just constant. We was always there, so I was always seeing how things were moving. When, like, there was the odd times where I would see something drop. You'd read a quick news article, and it's, oh no, we've just fired that big CEO after this sort of thing. And it's like, oh, well, that happened with someone else the other week. It dropped, but then it bounced back up briefly for a couple of hours. And it was little things like knowing that sort of thing. So it was like, all right, I'll put a bit of money on this, wait for it to go up, kind of know when to call it quits, get out, and then make a bit of money there. Like, little things like that. And a lot of the times it was scary because you were seeing all this news, you were seeing the price of it just drop and drop, and it was that trust in your gut of, no, I'm pretty sure this is gonna go. And actually following through with the one or two that I actually did with that and seeing it happen was quite it was quite good to see. That was definitely a nice little thing I took away from that anyway.
And like with the demo account that I mentioned, I did that in the practice week. I had some funds left in the demo account. Some news came out, and I was like, I'll forget to look up on this later. I'll forget what time it was announced, like stuff. So I just invested in it just to see what happened. And I learned so much from
Yeah,
watching that stock over the next couple of days, that when something else happened, I tried it again, but something completely different happened. So I thought, well, that isn't a rule. But I had only realised that wasn't a rule by testing it. And then
yeah,
when I saw other things, I was like, news was coming out during the actual challenge. I was like, as good as that sounds on paper, this could go either way. And I know that from what I've read and I understand, and my gut's telling me it could be unstable. So then you don't invest and you watch it go down and you go, great move. And then other times we both made moves where it went the wrong way. Like, we didn't make, it wasn't all gold. And we're not saying we're now, the best stock analysts in the world, but we learned stuff. And so I think
oh yeah,
anyone would doing it.
yeah, definitely. I think a good example of what I was talking about is, I can't remember the episode for the life of me, but if you search for our channel, the Tom and Matt Take On, and put Wirecard at the end of that, hopefully with the tags, the description there, the episode should come up. But I don't know how it happened. That was just one of the things where I trusted my gut and kind of rode this huge crash back up a little bit to basically recoup the money I'd lost. And that again, that was a huge trusting my gut moment, picking a price of when I was going to sell and just holding tight, really.
Yeah, definitely. And like for me, the one tip I had was, we did this very much as a short-term challenge, so we were reporting our results every week. So there was that element of we wanted to pick stuff that would do well in the short term, maybe took bigger risks than we would otherwise. We've now finished the challenge. We've carried on with our accounts, just personally, you know, not for any other reason than we wanted to. So my tip is to play the long game. Don't do it how we did it. Don't try and make day money. Don't try. You need to be on that account 24/7 to make and understand the stock market inside out, chart patterns, candlesticks, all this stuff that's just way too much. If you're going to ever make money in the short term, play the long game, look at stocks, look at the information you can find out about them, and use criteria, set your own criteria, speak to financial advisors, whatever it is, but play for a year or longer down the line, because if you're trying to make money between Monday and Friday, it's just ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So I think that's some quite interesting stuff there. Do you want to recap your thing you learned, thing you loved, and top tip?
Yeah, so my thing I learned was how much the stock market changes all your different stocks. The thing I loved was just kind of the research, so getting into knowing what's going on everywhere, basically. And my tip was to not lose my mind. Where has my mind just gone?
Trust your gut. Trust your gut.
Trust your gut. There you go. See, that was overthinking there. I was overthinking, trying to get my three, didn't trust myself, and just completely lost it. But yeah, there, trust your gut.
And mine, where one thing I learned was key pinch points. So especially look at them. If you're going to get into it, just look at them Monday morning points before you begin. One thing I loved was the fact that I was learning through doing. I wouldn't have learned everything that I've learned had we not been doing the challenge. And my tip is play the long game. So I think that's really good. And if you're interested in the challenge, that you can search for the Idiot Trading Challenge on YouTube. It will show up. So we've created a playlist and all the titles of all the episodes have it in. We did do 2 challenges. It all comes under one. It all runs in, but we kind of did one challenge and then another challenge. Or you can search for Tom and Matt Take On YouTube, because we've kind of rebranded the channel now. I know we spoke about before, but it's, you know, we're doing a lot more than just the Idiot Trading Challenge. But for those who can't be bothered to watch, I can't even remember how many episodes. It's a lot of episodes, but whoever doesn't want to watch all of them, go on. How many was it?
I think there's about 25, 26.
It's going to keep you busy as we go into another lockdown. Yes. It'll keep you busy. But basically, for those who don't want to watch all of that, but just want to know who is the better trader of the two of us, the results are as follows. In the first challenge, I won. In the second challenge, when we restarted, we reset to 0. Tom won. 2 things to be aware of. Not that I'm not letting Tom have his win, but we were only ever doing one challenge. So if one challenge was the main challenge, it was the first one. Also, on the second challenge, we miscalculated the number of weeks. We should have only done 4 weeks, and I was winning at 4 weeks. You picked me to the person on the last week. So, if you were going to ask who's the better trader, it's probably me. But based on the stats, it's 1-1. So we are going to be doing more challenges and other stuff to try and sort this battle out down the line.
Yes. But I mean, if you look at it from a financial standpoint, overall, one of us did end up probably making more money overall, potentially.
Potentially, but one of us invested more money because the first challenge went horrendous.
So it's up to you. If you want to watch through it, you kind of like, I don't know, the last video, leave a comment kind of saying who you thought did better out of.
Who would you trust with your money? To see. That's the question. Who would you say I will give all of my life savings to? That is the question I'm going to ask you. If you watch the Idiot Trading Challenge, please comment whose name you would give all of your money to. But don't do that. Don't give either of us all of your money. Go speak to a financial advisor, not us, because we are not trained in this at all. But I think that's quite nice. This has kind of been an enigma. I remember when we mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, we're doing this thing that might never get mentioned on the podcast again.
Yeah.
So we just thought it'd be nice to kind of let you know about that thing. It's kind of been mentioned a few times. We've tried to push people to go watch it and stuff, but we thought, how can we bring this in without it being too different? So we've kind of used it as a topic today rather than using the random generator. But potentially the random generator will return at some point. Is there anything else you want to add about the challenge, Tom, before we move on?
No, that is pretty much it. I think, especially over the past few episodes, as we've talked about different things, especially development wise, the challenge has been a huge part of that, I'd say, especially for me. So that is pretty much where all of that has been coming from. But yeah, as Matt was saying, hopefully this kind of just encompasses all together, and we can now stop boring you with this challenge that we've been doing. And so we do another one, and then we'll bring that up again.
Brilliant. We're gonna tell you some more stuff about the podcast in just a moment, and also ask for more of your input. So keep listening. So we're always trying to find new ways of bringing content to you guys. It's not too different. We've been using the random number generator for a while. That is still a thing. We've got the long list. We're still taking suggestions, questions, all that kind of thing for that. But we've come up with a new idea. I will give a shout out to my dad because he did give me this idea, and he will probably listen to this at some point in the future and have a go at me if I don't give him credit for it. But basically, we're going to try something potentially on the next episode. It depends if we can come up with a decent topic or not, where we debate something. One of us takes one side and the other person takes the other side. We will be forced to which side we take, we'll get to choose, and we'll just have to debate it. This came from the idea around there was a lot of hoo-ha between Apple's App Store and Fortnite a while back, and who was right, who was wrong. We thought it'd be quite interesting to debate that, but we never got around to it. So we're going to try and do something like that again in the future. We've asked for it before, we're asking for it again, but any topics you want us to cover within this world of business, let us know, because we want to try it out, but we want to do something that people want to listen to anyway. So if you've got any ideas about that, please do let us know. Have you got anything else you want to add on that, Tom?
No, just whatever you're wanting us to listen to. Obviously, try make it something that isn't going to push too far, and yeah, just to look forward to it really, because it is going to be interesting having, like, especially when we're forced to either side of it. I would be quite intrigued if it is a topic that we both feel strongly for in other ways, but we actually end up getting the other one that we have to argue for.
Yeah,
I feel like that could definitely bring some interesting conversations.
Yeah, definitely. So it'd be quite interesting to see. We kind of talk about topics ourselves on here, and we kind of they're not topics you either agree or disagree on. They're just kind of advice topics. So we just want to try and bring something different to you guys. So let us know if that's something you want to hear, and if you've got any ideas of what we can cover. Now on to the podcast news. We'll be honest here, we're not quite sure what this is all about, but the stats have gone through the roof in the last day or two. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, Tom, because like that screenshot I sent you.
Yeah, yeah. If you was to look at how the stats kind of go, the chart that Matt sees and sends to me quite a lot, we have had probably two big spikes. I'd say one when I've been on, since I've been on, and one previous to this, where they both looked huge on this graph until now. This one spot that's in it currently is just dwarfing everything else in this
The
graph.
other spikes are about half the height of this one, and these are on a weekly graph, and the week begins on a I can't remember when it is. I think it's the
midweek.
10th. So it's like Thursday. It begins on the Thursday. and we're recording this on Sunday, and it's already doubled the peak of any other one. We've passed some milestones, which you might see on my social media in the next couple of days, which we weren't expecting to pass until we release this episode. It's just through the roof. The thing that's puzzling us the most is we get most of our listeners, around half of our listeners, through Apple Podcasts, and then the rest are split Spotify, Anchor, Overcast, and then there's a section called Other. When we look at the stats for this week, it's over 90% of our listens are through Other, which we can't break down any further. So we have reached out to Anchor, the platform that I use to host this, to see if they can enlighten us on where this traffic is coming from. What would be really interesting, if you're one of them people who started listening, have you seen this podcast featured somewhere? If you've started listening this last week, where is it? How did you come across it? That kind of thing. We'd be really interested to hear, because unfortunately the platform we use is great. I love Anchor, but it's not got that detail that we need to suss out where this is coming from. The last two spikes that Tom talks about, we know that's been through Apple, because we've charted on a few occasions, so we know that it's going through Apple. The stats are showing that's all great, but this, it seems to be across. And the last episode was done really well, so that's great, but there's about 5 or 6 other episodes that seem to be doing quite well as too, so it's just interesting to see where that is all coming from. But I think what the message behind all this is, we love doing this. It's crazy to see it when it does this. This is what we do it for. But just thank you for listening, because when we've been looking at the stats and been trying to think this idea about doing different content and stuff, trying to freshen it up a bit, just kind of keep that growth going, and then we see something like this, it's just crazy. Yeah. And I just for a bit of fun, run you through some stats. It'd be great. I'm going to read out the top 10 countries that we're listening to in. So if you're in one of these countries, then give us a shout. So obviously we've got United Kingdom at the top, USA, great, love the US fans, Australia, Ireland, India, Spain, Canada, Germany, I'm trying to think how many that is now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Bulgaria, and Greece. Now there are lots of other countries on this list, but if you're in one of them countries or another country, let us know where you're listening, because it'd be cool to know that you're listening around the world. Like we know some of the listeners personally, like we know friends, family, colleagues, that kind of thing. We know them, but someone listening in like a foreign country that we've never met before, if you listen every week, it'd be really cool to hear from you. So yeah, just a really big thank you to everyone who's listening and providing these moments of shock, really.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
definitely upwards with it, I believe.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Which, if there's that, if that means there's a potential sponsor out there anywhere, then you know where to get in touch with Matt.
Well, this is the thing. By the time the next episode goes out, Tom, we could be reality TV stars, and who knows?
I mean,
this could be the audience getting ready for a guest appearance in I'm a Celebrity this year. You never know. Potentially.
So, yeah. But, I mean, it'd be good if we could get a guest appearance on here from I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, Ant and Dec, I know you're listening. Hook us up. We'll have you on one of the episodes. We'll just talk about something. I don't know. It'll be business related. Yeah. How to personal brand a duo. There we go. That's what we're talking about. Brilliant. So yeah, thank you to everyone who's listening. Please do keep sharing it. This could be just one person sharing it with like loads of people. So if you're that person who's sharing it with loads of people on a random platform, then thank you very much for doing that. But yeah, keep sharing, keep rating, keep subscribing, keep all the things that help the podcast grow. But yeah, until next time, thanks for listening.